We can go ahead and get started then. We are glad to have everybody here. We appreciate you sitting in on the presentation to learn more about some of the things we're doing from a safety perspective. We've created and talked to Sheila and team at the AGC about what we call the ENCORE Safety Network and what that is and how it benefits members and stuff like that. And so we want to take some time to just do some education today around some of the things that are out there in the safety industry right now that we obviously want all of you to know about, but then also kind of how we utilize that within the ENCORE Safety Network. And so my name is Elliot Bassett. I'm with Ellerbrock-Norris and the ENCORE Safety Network. I have with me presenting Chase Bassett, Ellerbrock-Norris as well, happens to be my brother, don't hold it against me, but also with the ENCORE Safety Network. And then we have Doug Fletcher, who will be presenting with us as well. Doug is with Fletcher Safety Consulting. He's an ex-OSHA director and also host of the What's the Hazard podcast. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. He releases weekly podcast episodes that are pretty awesome and great information in this for folks in the safety industry. So with that, I think we're going to jump straight in. We're hopefully only planning for about 45 minutes, including questions and answers and stuff like that. So we aren't going to try to keep everybody here all afternoon or anything. But we kind of wanted to first jump into the why behind the ENCORE Safety Network, because I think it is a good discussion topic for everybody on this call. Kind of the reasons why we created a network of safety individuals. And so Chase, I'm going to kick it over to you to kind of walk through that piece of the why behind the ENCORE Safety Network.
Yeah, thanks Elliot. And like he said, I'm Chase Bassett. I'm pretty involved with the AGC. I wish we could do these in person this year, but this is the world that we live in now. So can't wait to get back to the in-person events and everything that the AGC puts together. But as far as the why behind the network goes, we understand that there's tons of different safety resources out there. There's different, technology out there. There's different groups that we get content from. There's consultants, there's advisors, there's tons of resources out there. And, all of those are very good things. And one of the things we want to highlight right off the start is the ENCORE Safety Network is not designed to replace any of those resources that you currently utilize and you get value from. But what we found in a lot of those resources is a lot of that information can be what is considered generic, and it provides that high level information that simply checks the box. And in working with a lot of our clients and prospective clients, we came to find out that safety leaders and professionals, they understood all of that information out there, the high level information, the check the box information. And what they wanted was that real world advice on how to handle specific situations around safety that they see on a day-to-day basis. And they wanted to, be able to tap into their peers and figure out what those peers are doing to handle specific situations on a day-to-day basis in the real world. So that's exactly what we did with the ENCORE Safety Network, and really just establish that network of like-minded individuals who are committed to working safely to come together and really just facilitate the collaboration on everything safety, with the overall goal being just to help everyone drive that culture of safety into their organizations so that we can ultimately protect our most important asset, which is our employees. So at a high level, that's really the overall why behind the network, just to bring like-minded individuals together. And Doug, I know you have some experience, in your consulting business with this. Do you kind of want to share your experience with this and in the groups that you work with?
Hey man, I'd be happy to. Thank you guys. And Sheila, thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be with you all. I appreciate it. I am a firm believer. I'm a proponent of these network approaches to safety and health collaboration. When I was with OSHA, I spent many of you know, I recognized a number of names that have popped up on the screen. I spent 20 years with the OSHA office here in Nebraska, and we had a number of different network attempts. While I was with OSHA, we had a group in the meatpacking world. We had a group in the grain world, and there was a tremendous amount of value in those. And so since I've been out on my own, since I left OSHA, we have been trying to establish network opportunities here in the local community as well. And really until I started working with Elliot Bassett and the good people at Ellerbrock-Norris, we didn't really have the ability technically and resource-wise to do that. And so when we began this collaboration, personally, I was thrilled with this opportunity because Ellerbrock-Norris brings resources and expertise that I did not have access to. I'm a firm believer in this type of collaboration. I think that we, as safety professionals, we are at our best when we're working collaboratively with others in the community. And so my experience has been that this is the way that safety is done best: sharing, commiserating on occasion, working on challenges and problem solving together. And so I'm very excited to be a part of this group, and I hope that if this is something that appeals to you, that we have an opportunity to work together. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Doug. I think that's really important, because Doug, you're boots on the ground, and you get heavily involved with many different types of organizations. So appreciate you sharing that. But I want to kind of go into, we can all talk about collaboration and different, I know there's been different groups that have been created in the past designed to do this same thing. So I want to kind of go into the structure on how we facilitate this collaboration with network members. And the first way that we do that is by having 2 full-day in-person events per year. And we like to have those, one in the spring and one in the fall. And in these in-person events, really, we just want to touch on, everything safety, but really from a best practices standpoint, and really just to discuss, trends that are happening right now in the industry, challenges certain organizations are facing, and also what to anticipate over the next, 3 to 4 months. And, we at least want to come together on that biannual basis because, the time of year really dictates the areas of focus within the safety program. In the spring, we're getting started up, we're getting ready for the year, getting the equipment ready, et cetera. And then in the fall, we're kind of starting to slow down a little bit and get ready for shutdown in some people's case. So we really want to have those twice per year. Another aspect of it, and we'll get into this here in a little bit, but it's OSHA compliance updates, and Doug directs a lot of this. But again, just want to touch on a lot of the trends with OSHA, what certain organizations are seeing, what to anticipate. Certainly with the change in administration, this is something that's kind of a hot topic right now in the industry. So that's certainly a key piece of those events that we have. 2 other things within those full-day in-person events is leadership training. Oftentimes, developing our safety leaders or safety professionals as leaders is overlooked. And so that's certainly a key piece of the network, and we'll touch on that one here too a little bit later. And then the 4th piece is really just tie in the impact of safety on workers' compensation, and really just ways that we can control that workers' compensation cost. It's a really good way to gauge the return on the investment that we get within the safety side of things. So that's another key piece of those full-day in-person events. Another way that we facilitate this is through quarterly webinars. And again, these kind of follow the same trend as the best practices and the OSHA compliance updates, just getting together, discussing, common challenges, what certain organizations are seeing, what to anticipate, et cetera. And we really encourage participation in these. If you're seeing a specific challenge in your industry and in your organization, we want you to be upfront with us so that, we can facilitate some sort of dialogue in those quarterly webinars, which are, in the similar format that we're having today. So we hold those on a quarterly basis. And then 2 other things, one being a community forum, which is nice that if you have some sort of question or if you want advice on any sort of specific, safety situation, you can just get on we have a message board, and you can type in a question, and it allows the safety network, other safety network members to, reply to that question, provide any sort of advice that they have, and really just open up that dialogue on the message board, and we're involved in that too. So if you have a question for Doug, Doug can always weigh in on a lot of those questions too. So that's kind of something that's, more on your own time. You don't have to wait, until any in-person events. You can just get on that message board and get feedback as people are available to check that. And then the other piece of it is just educational content. We like to fire out content on a regular basis. One being the safety subjects videos we put together on a weekly basis, which is just a quick safety topic update, a quick short video that we send out on a weekly basis that we deliver to your inbox. Just any sort of updates, relevant information, etc. So Elliot, Doug, do you guys have anything to add to that? I'm sure I probably missed something within that. Anything?
No, I think that was a great overview. I think it just goes back to, the operative word there being collaboration. And I threw a question out to the group too that, are there any ways that, you all are finding good ways to collaborate either internally in your own organizations or outside of the organization? We'd love to discuss that, but I think that's what we're always trying to drive as the basis and the why behind the network. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if anybody wants to just speak up too, you don't have to type anything into the chat. Just please speak up, and we'll answer any questions that you do have. But that kind of gives a structure of how we facilitate that collaboration. Again, we don't want it to be a deal where we meet, once a year and then it's forget everything until next year. We want it to be, engaging for all members, and really just provide an environment where you can come and go as you want, and as your schedule dictates too. So if that's all you guys have, I'll go over to OSHA compliance.
Yeah.
Good with that? Okay. So as I already mentioned, OSHA compliance is a key piece of the network. And again, Doug drives a lot of this, but kind of just to give some background, working with a lot of our clients, we found out that, when safety professionals had questions around OSHA, if they aren't working with an OSHA consultant like Doug, they were, being directed towards engaging their attorneys on some of these specific questions. And really with the expense of an attorney, sometimes it deterred safety professionals from reaching out to their attorneys. And, I'm not discounting the advice that they're getting by any means, because it's really good advice, but I think it was just deterring people from a fear of getting a bill, which, it really depends on who you're working with. And, we never want that to deter anybody from getting help on safety. So, Doug, I'm going to kick it over to you on this, and, you can provide an update on OSHA and, kind of some of the ways that we built this into the network.
Sure, absolutely. And it was a really good overview, man. I'm actually impressed. I'm teasing, but no, that was really excellent. The thing that I like most about this particular opportunity, to be quite honest, is, we push out information all the time, which really amazes me. I mean, and again, with Alex's help, Elliot, Chase, we have an opportunity then to develop content and push it out to you on a regular basis, a timely basis. One of the things that I think is lacking in some other membership type opportunities is getting real-time, timely information. And so that's one of the facets of this group that I like very much. I would say that the people that are going to benefit most from participation in this group are those that are going to be willing to participate, to share, to interact. If you are not, if that's not what you're looking for, this may not be the network for you necessarily. But if you believe that, sharing information like this transcends some kind of, some advantage you might have, some, competitive advantage, this is kind of beyond that, then this is definitely a group you should consider, because we do count on each other to answer some of these questions, to provide examples of things that we've done to address certain challenges, again, which I think is a strength that most groups do not have. As far as OSHA updates, that falls on me to a large extent. I still have contact with the area office and the national office, and so we are constantly trying to gather information that we would think would be valuable to the community. So we're pushing that information out. One of the things that we also do is bring in subject matter experts for certain things. So if we don't have expertise in a certain topic that is of interest to the group, we probably have someone in our network that can provide that expertise. And so we have called upon already, even in just the first 5 or 6 months of this group, we've actually brought in a number of subject matter experts, whether they be technical people or legal people or whatever that might be, to provide additional information, which again, I think is the strength of a network like this. From an OSHA update standpoint, this is going to be, since we just changed administrations and we just changed political parties, I think everybody is aware that we can expect a lot of change within the area office. And I was speaking to my, I can't give you his name, but one of my former coworkers who's still with the office, just a few days ago, talking about what to expect and what's going on within the office. I think, and I'll be honest with you, when I go out in the community, I see a significant lessening of focus on COVID. Okay, and whether you believe it or not, I mean, that's not the issue here. What the issue is that OSHA is about to release an emergency temporary standard. They have until March 15th to do that. They've been tasked with that by executive order. And so they are going to be promulgating an emergency temporary standard on COVID. They're also working on a national emphasis program on COVID. I have on good authority, which is a nightmare, frankly. And there's a lot of political pressure on OSHA to ramp up their focus on COVID. And so, I see a lot of people that have just kind of lightened up a little bit, and I think that's going to be a problem, frankly. I think that everybody on this call, everybody in the community is going to be expected to have some type of a COVID exposure prevention plan of some sort, much like we would have a bloodborne pathogen plan or any other type of exposure control plan. You're going to be expected to have something like that in place, based on risk assessment in your facility, and then outline the steps that you're going to take for control measures. And if we don't have that, I think we are going to be vulnerable to citation, because the emergency temporary standard will give OSHA the ability to issue citations rather than these general duty citations and penalties for the standard specifically. And so I am concerned that, and so how does OSHA do that? If they do promulgate an emphasis program, they will be out making inspections based on the criteria in the program. If not, I think that part of most interactions you have with OSHA, whether that be a complaint or an accident or just a drive-by, perhaps if you're in construction, certainly a drive-by can get them onto your project. There will be a COVID component to that, and if you are doing nothing to address COVID, I think that we are vulnerable. So, from a current events standpoint, that is certainly most pressing right now. But, most of you are aware that OSHA has national and local emphasis programs in place, whether that be for silica or trenching or any number of things. And they have resumed enforcement of those programs again. And so there was a little bit of a respite during the COVID, fanaticism, but they are going back to those programs. And so if they apply to you, you certainly need to be aware of that and take steps to address that. So, and again, we will be posting updates about these changes weekly, which is just remarkable, in my opinion. And I know that everybody's incredibly busy and it's hard to keep up with all this stuff. And so one of our goals is to help you keep up with some of these changes. So I'll take a breath.
Doug, the next thing that we wanted to make sure we talked about is probably one of, our most popular topics that we discuss regularly within the network, which is leadership training. As safety leaders, as safety directors, safety managers, whatever the title is, we naturally have to be leaders, right? Because we are teaching and we're training and we're trying to coach people to believe that it is important to drive that culture of working safely. And I think you would agree that, you know, the best success we see in our members and in companies is when they truly have that culture around working safely in their organization. And so, you want to maybe talk through some of the things that we're working with? We don't have our leadership expert on the call today. He unfortunately couldn't make it. His name is Aaron Cerrone, but we'll do our best to stand in for Aaron here. So do you may want to just give some overview, high level of kind of some of the topics and things that we hit on with the network members from a leadership perspective?
Yeah, man, absolutely. And again, well, this is something that really warrants a lot of excitement. Again, in my opinion, you know, I've been in literally hundreds of facilities over the last 25 years here doing safety in Omaha, 30 years, whatever it's been. And I think we are doing a reasonably good job training our employees on regulatory requirements. You know, we can go to the regulations, we can get training information specifically that to address these regulatory requirements. We're doing a pretty good job with that. Fall protection, excavation, safety, confined space, you name it. That's fairly accessible to us. One of the gaps that I see, and one of the gaps that has been brought to me by many of the clients and companies that I work with, is leadership training. I think one of the things that we don't necessarily do well, and I'm not suggesting that this is true for everyone, but many companies struggle a little bit with just preparing their managers for leadership. I mean, obviously, I think we all understand that those are two different terms, two different things. So about a year ago, a good friend of mine, Aaron Cerrone, who Elliot just mentioned, he's a local small businessman. He's an instructor over at UNO. He was an Air Force Academy graduate. He's still in the reserve. You know, he's an officer in the reserve. He is a kind of a leadership expert. He's kind of a lean efficiency guy. Well, he's not lean, he's a monster, but I mean, he's, he teaches those concepts. And so he and I have come together and started doing some safety leadership training. And man, I mean, just the discussions, from my perspective, I was a manager with OSHA for probably 10 of the 20 years I was with the agency, and never got any leadership training. And I'm sure it was glaringly apparent, the guys that worked for me. But I've learned so much over the last year just interacting with Aaron. And so we have brought this to the network. Aaron has joined us in the network, and it is our intention to provide some of this leadership information. And again, I mean, most of these things are probably somewhat intuitive. You probably know them, but until you really talk about them in the context of how we work safely and how we promote and encourage and support working safely, I'm not sure we always get our head around it. And so this, to me, may be one of the most exciting aspects of the whole program, is just an opportunity to share some of this information. And without overstepping, this is one of the things that we talk about regularly on this podcast, okay? And so if you just want a taste of what we're talking about, you can listen to an episode on our podcast with Aaron Cerrone. He talks about leadership on the podcast about once a month. He'll come on and we'll talk about leadership. We've got one coming up this Friday. We will sit down and talk about leadership, and I'm in awe every time. I learn something that I probably should have known years ago every time we talk about leadership. And so I think you would enjoy it as well. And again, that's something I'm very excited about. It's a huge piece of what we do as safety professionals, and it unfortunately has been oftentimes overlooked.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the biggest things that we've gotten in feedback is it's very actionable tactics when it comes to how can I drive the right culture? How can I be a good leader when it comes to, we were talking about near misses. How do we encourage our team to bring us near misses? And we had an entire safety subjects episode on doing that, but from a leadership perspective. And so very actionable ideas and thoughts that we bring to the members in there. Because it is such an important, I would encourage everybody to put an emphasis around leadership training and whatnot in your own organizations, because it's a very important piece. So So with that, we wanted to jump then into one as part of the network. We, are able to, and we get access to a lot of different technology, and we learn about a lot of different technology that's out there, because there is becoming a lot more available to the safety industry from a technology perspective. Sometimes that can be overwhelming, but it is a good opportunity to, again, build in tools that can allow you to drive that culture more effectively. And so Chase, I'm going to turn it back over to you to kind of walk through some of the different technologies that are out there, or thoughts about how to use that technology, and then how we've built that into the network.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And as I mentioned this at the start. The network is really not designed to replace any current technology that you use that is providing value to the organization at all. But in having these conversations with different organizations, it became apparent that every organization, regardless of size, is really at different levels within their safety programs. Some organizations have a ton of safety resources, and they do a very good job of training on an ongoing basis, and other organizations have few resources and don't pay much attention to safety. So we wanted to build in some resources within the network, some technology resources that if organizations saw value in and they needed, they would have access to that, and they wouldn't have to go elsewhere and try to find these resources. So two specific pieces are, the first one being really just a portal that provides access to relevant and timely content for safety training. So think things like toolbox talks, or just presentations, checklists, things like that around a multitude of different safety related topics. And Doug, you hit on this a little bit ago that there's a lot that is being asked of our safety leaders in today's organizations. These are really busy individuals, and especially in the heavy highway industry, safety leaders are tasked with driving to different job sites and spending time on different job sites. And, it does take a lot of time, to do that, right? You're not just all in one location, you're going to many different locations. So what this portal is designed to do is really just allow that readily available access to that content, so that safety leaders aren't having to spend time to reinvent the wheel every time they want to give a toolbox talk on a specific topic. So, in a lot of these conversations, we found out that a lot of safety leaders were using Google as a resource to find specific resources. Then they had to download it, tailor it to their organization, and then go on with the presentation. That took a lot of time. So what the portal allows you to do is, you can go on, look at resources, and if you have your company information already uploaded in there, you can just download the document, and all of your company information just merges right into the document. And so it's already pre-built to the organization. Obviously, we recommend that you always review it and further tailor it to the organization, but it really just saves time from a safety leader's perspective. So that's one key piece. There's also some OSHA log technology in there as well. You can house your OSHA logs in there, which is really nice because it allows you to export that file and upload it to OSHA's website for electronic reporting. You can track near miss incidents in there, and it also allows for some trend analysis on the OSHA side too. So that's another nice resource. And then we've also built in some HR resources too for HR professionals. A lot of times we find that individuals aren't only handling safety, but they're also handling HR and wearing many different hats. So we've included some salary benchmarking resources. There's an employee review builder resource in there, and there's a few others around HR. So that's one key piece, just providing that access to that relevant and timely content around training. And then the last aspect that I want to touch on here, and then I'll wrap up and we can open it up for questions, is what we refer to as a training center. And we've noticed a trend, and I think it's COVID has certainly accelerated it, but I think it's a trend that we started to see over the past about 5 years. And it's the trend of going more towards that individualized training and smaller group training, as opposed to bringing everybody together once a year and doing the larger group training and then doing the same thing next year. We hope that, we're doing it on a more ongoing basis. But we're kind of seeing a trend towards the smaller groups. And again, COVID has certainly forced us to really do that. And so within the training center, it's a complete video-based training platform with over 200 videos in that. There are English and Spanish videos in there as well. These videos are about 5 to 15 minutes. We try to, they're meant to be kept short so that, we're not forcing employees to watch, hour and 2 hour videos. Obviously wouldn't be feasible. So they're short videos. And the nice thing about these, the benefits to a safety professional is you can go in there and you can assign certain videos and trainings to different groups of employees. And it allows those safety leaders to track, who has completed those courses and who has not completed the courses. And once those courses are completed, it generates a certificate of completion, and it just automatically documents that in the system. So the safety professional is not having to, create a sign-in sheet, log that sign-in sheet in the filing cabinet, and go find it when they need to find it. So it really creates some efficiencies there. Particularly with the heavy highway industry, again, there's a lot of challenges with this. One being just workload, and I know that the weather can really dictate our workload. So, if we do have weeks where we're rained out, the training center allows us to, assign trainings while there is some downtime with employees. And you can kind of do it on an as needed basis, which is nice. And then again, another challenge is just having that geographic spread of employees on different job sites. You don't have to have everybody in one location for these employees to continue their safety training. They can complete it on their own time, and allows the safety manager to track that training that's being completed. So I'm with you, Doug. I went on too long there. So Elliot, you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. No, I think that's a great overview. And I think the key takeaway for everybody there is our goal within the network when it comes to technology is kind of twofold. It's awareness, number one. So making you aware of the different technologies that are out there that we come across from other members, or that we come across just in the industry that we feel like you should just know about. And you can make your own determination as to whether that's beneficial to your organization. And then secondly is when we bring together many organizations in a network like the ENCORE Safety Network, we have a lot of resources to go and purchase those technologies that are most beneficial to the network as a whole. And we can do that affordably, right? So sometimes when you go to purchase an LMS system or whatnot, it can be pretty expensive if you're buying it just for your organization. But if we can come up with those technologies that are beneficial to the entire network, or most of the members of the network, it becomes pretty economical. And so those are our kind of twofold goals when it comes to the technology. But I think the key thing for everybody here is just understanding there's a lot out there anymore, from everything from tracking software that we've talked about, content curation, to wearables now that track an unbelievable amount of data that you can use to influence your safety program. And so, Doug, I think to just wrap this topic up, I will throw it back to you, because you and I were having a discussion just around kind of what you're seeing in your clients when it comes to tracking of information, content and that type of stuff, going from, those paper environments to more technology. And so you maybe just want to talk through what you're seeing from that perspective.
Well, I think you guys both touched on it. Every company seems to be at a different stage of this process, and I know how challenging it is, having been the OSHA guy asking for documentation. I know how challenging it is to keep up with these documentation requirements, and so I do think that eventually everyone is going to have to migrate to some type of electronic data management at some point. And the ability to monitor training, to assign training, to track the completion of training, and then know where we might have had an employee miss or fall through the cracks, I think is really beneficial, because I can assure you, when the OSHA guy comes onto your site, he will walk immediately to the one guy that you forgot to train, or he was on vacation when you were doing the training. it just seems inevitable. I mean, we just gravitated to that individual, and now you're explaining how that happened. And so I think that these technical tools that are becoming available to us will make life much easier for all of us. And I think I really like where we're going with this. The one thing that I like so much, particularly about this network, is that it is going to evolve in a direction that is helpful to the participants. It's young, it's in its infancy as a network, and we are excited about how we can help it grow and where we want to take it. And in large part, that is going to be dictated by the needs of the participants. And I think that is ultimately the only way to do this successfully. And so I'm really appreciative that the Ellerbrock-Norris folks understand that and are interested in providing that for the members. And so I'm excited. I mean, I like it. I like the direction we're going.
I was going to say, it's a really, really good point, Doug, and I was going to highlight or touch on that too a little bit here at the end, is just the ability to change and evolve. You know, we want the network was built for safety professionals and leaders, and so we want feedback from the members so that we can change and evolve this into what the network members want and what they're getting the most value out of too. So I'm excited too to see the network evolve, and we always want to encourage that participation from members, certainly.
So that kind of wraps up our presentation. We will stick on for any questions. I see Wes. Thank you for responding to the chat with being candid with your response on technology. We'd love to hear from anybody else again that is using technology in their organization, and then any questions you may have on any of the topics that we discussed or just on the network in general. We'll stick around. If you have interest in learning more about the network or just any of these topics, we are more than happy to jump on a phone call or a Zoom call or get to know your organization a little better and answer any of those questions. So we'll make sure that everybody gets our contact information after this out to you so you know how to get a hold of us. But again, we'll stick around. Feel free to unmute. Feel free to throw a question in the chat and we'll go from there. And Sheila, anything that you might have to wrap up, let us know.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, guys. We appreciate it. It's hard, obviously, being able to get together, so we thought maybe this would be a good idea for you guys to reach our members. So hopefully everybody got the info, and if you guys have any questions, obviously you know who to contact there at Ellerbrock, or I can help you with that too. So thanks, guys.
Definitely.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. And like we said, we'll hope to see everybody in person soon.